Welcome back to another episode of NBL Now. It is the off-season, but as promised, we're making our way around the country, chatting to all the clubs, where they're at, where they're looking to build towards NBL 26. And head out west today. Danny Mills, nice enough to give me some of your time. Danny, welcome. How's everything going from your end?
Yeah, thanks for having us again, Pete. It's going well. Like, we feel really good about where the roster's at. You know, we had three big announcements the last 10 days with Sunday and then Lat Mayen and then obviously the return of David Aquera. So we're really excited about those guys combined with, Christian and Dylan re-signing. So we feel really good. I think you have to be patient in this sort of a market as we will be, but we feel really good about where the group's at, and a few things we have to wait on to see where they play out. But so far, we feel pretty confident about where our free agency's been.
We'll break down some of those key signings because you're right, it has been a big couple of weeks and some big names and exciting names that Wildcats fans should be looking forward to seeing in a uniform. But perhaps to start this, and it's weird to say, so it's the first off-season, obviously, without Bryce Cotton on the team. And it's going to be unfair for everyone to keep having to bring that up. And I don't want to say that I'm kind of closing that chapter because it feels like a negative connotation on the great one, but it is obviously a different looking off-season, different looking team. So perhaps just now we can talk about, from your perspective, just one, reflecting quickly on Bryce's legacy, but two, how it was always going to be a potential chance that he would explore his overseas opportunity, and it didn't leave you flat-footed.
Yeah, no, not at all. Obviously, we've known he's been under contract for the 4 years I've been here. We had to re-sign him after my first season. But understanding he has a global marketplace. He's an elite player. His 9 years in the NBL was almost unparalleled, what he's done on the court, and he backed his hat here in Perth and the community. And so for him, to look overseas and to other situations was something we were always prepared for. Obviously, we would have loved Bryce back, but he's got to do what's right for him and his family at this stage in his career. And for us, it provides opportunity. It allowed us to look at someone like Christian Doolittle and be like, we need to lock him in 3 years to try and get someone like Dylan Windler back, and then to have this flexibility now on the roster where we can go out and recruit another import at that position. And obviously it's going to be, a different player. But for us, it just gives us that a little bit of a different look and to kind of look at where we're at, who we're building around, and to kind of go from there. So there's definitely a level of excitement with where we're at. We like the flexibility we've had so far and who we're bringing in. And, no doubt we've got a few more signings to go, which will be really big to kind of finalize the roster. But we're definitely optimistic about where we're at.
Yeah, it probably can't be understated enough that Christian Doolittle coming back is one thing, but a multi-year deal, a 3-year deal to have Christian Doolittle as that foundational piece, and now Dylan Windler as well on a multi-year deal. Like, you are not just setting up to obviously contend next season, but you're setting up in a position that for the next 3 years at least, I know every year you want to contend, but you've got these building blocks, these foundational pieces where if we get the right complementary ones around that, every year we can win a title, absolutely.
Yeah, totally agree. Like, I think everyone's seen the level that Christian played the last 2 seasons in the NBL, and especially on the back end of last season into the finals. I mean, no doubt in my mind, he's, leaning towards being a top 5 player in this league on both ends of the floor. And to have him in his prime for 3 years, and for him to commit to the club for 3 years as well. He had interest from all over the world and committed back to Perth. And then you look at what Dylan did, building into an amazing first season with us, and to be able to secure his signature early and have him return to the club with some unfinished business is super exciting, and something, like you said, every year the goal is to win a title, but obviously we can build around these guys for the next 3 with Christian.
So before we touch on those other key signings that you've got already locked in, looking at the final pieces you need, and you mentioned the word patience, and it's an interesting offseason around the entire league. I mean, unless you're the Sydney Kings or Illawarra Hawks, who have largely your entire roster set to go, everyone else does seem to be taking their time with a little bit more local talent, but also that import and marquee level talent. Is the patience now, when you look at, okay, these guys might try and have another go at a two-way, they might go for some European deals. We've got these names on a whiteboard. It's going to take a little bit longer, but as you said, we're still in a very good position, and we still have multiple names up there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like the key free agents we brought into the club, getting Sunday Dech back to Perth, former Wildcat, a guy that we'd really targeted the last, he's been under contract with Adelaide, but a Perth boy that wanted to come home, and just an amazing player on the court, but also off the court, what he'll bring in terms of leadership and experience. And then bringing in a versatile, we still like has a lot of potential in Lat Mayen, a wing that can play multiple positions. And then just being patient around the rest of these names. That obviously there's a lot of players out there that we would love to look at, but they also have opportunities all over the world. And the reality is our season finishes really early compared to most. That's why you see a lot of our players going overseas after our season: Puerto Rico, Europe, Japan, China. And so really you're kind of on their clock to an extent. They're going to wait. They've got to wait until the European market really starts to mature. That's not really opening up. You start to see some guys re-sign, but Europe won't start re-signing their players until late May, June, even early July. And then you head into a summer league period. So there's still a lot to play out for a lot of teams, like you said. And we'll go from there. But we feel pretty good about having, the majority of our roster locked away now with some of these new guys we've added.
Are you solely focused, obviously, the names we've heard around the marquee big man, the JLA, Yanni Wetzel? Is it all in on a marquee center, or is there some flexibility where if that doesn't pay out, that maybe we can go and get a local type center, an import center, and go with a marquee point guard or a combo guard who's around the rest of the world?
Yeah, I don't think we're locked into any plan in terms of that. Obviously, we have a preference. But it does, adding marquee local talent is massive in this league. And it's something that, is high priority on our list, but there's only so many of those guys as well. So that's definitely a target in that sense. Positionally, we've locked in Christian and Dylan, and you only have one more restricted player to get. And, the likelihood that's going to be in the backcourt, I would think. But for us, it's about, looking at the whole market. What else do we have to bring in as a local? Do we add another next star to the program, as we've had the last 2 years? And then where do we go with that last import spot? So, as you mentioned, we're at the start of May. We've probably got a few more months to play out before things really, some players really start making decisions on where they want to go next year.
I'll put it to you this way, because I feel like this might be the answer, is having guys like Windler, Doolittle, even Sunday Dech, having unbelievable versatility to play a bunch of different positions. We saw the success small ball had. Does it make your job harder? Because so much don't necessarily have to say, you know what, we just absolutely need this position. You can actually kind of move the magnets around and make it wherever you want to see fit. Does it make it a little harder?
You could look at it that way. And I definitely understand the question, what you're saying. The versatility and having these wings, like you said, Doolittle, Windler, guys that can play, really Dylan can play from 2 to 4. Yeah. The first season we had Christian, he started at the 3, played more at the 4 last year, even played some, as you mentioned, went small and played some 5 in the final series against Melbourne. So I think having the versatility ultimately gives you the ability to, sign players that might have a little bit more talent but can play in different positions, as opposed to locking yourself into just one specific player that can only be a 1 or can only be a 2-3. And so I think when we look at players, we look at guards and wings, and then obviously you have your big, but even the bigs now, like you're looking at guys that can space the floor and can switch out defensively. And, if you have to give up a little bit of rim protection because you're getting a more versatile big that can switch out, maybe that's something you look at as well. So it does make it harder in a sense that you're looking at probably a broader group of players, but in a perfect world, if you could have 5, 6, 7 guys across the board, then that's probably the roster that you're looking at anyway.
Yeah, you're spot on again. I know that John really would be looking for as much versatility as possible because you can move the magnets around in a season. So I'm looking forward to seeing what eventuates, especially over the next month or two, gearing towards Summer League with some of the names that are out there and potential guys who could become available, whether that's from an NBA season or Europe or whatever it is. So I know that's going to keep you busy, but let's quickly talk on those new pieces, because Sunday Dech is a big signing to bring back. One of the best defenders in the league. We know what he's capable of at his very best, and Wildcats fans understand that too from a personal level. But Lat Mayen, I don't think we've seen anywhere near his full capabilities. How excited are you to bring him across and really unleash him to the Red Army?
Yeah, when Lat became a free agent 2 years ago out of Cairns, a year ago, played last year in Adelaide, he was a guy we definitely considered. Coming out of college, to get a 6'9" versatile wing that can play multiple positions, I think he's shown flashes, probably not consistent flashes of like what he can be, both in his time at Cairns and then last year at Adelaide. But he's definitely had games in the NBL where you're like, geez, if this guy can consistently come out and produce on both ends like he is, then he's going to be a player. And for us to get him on a 2-year deal, to come into a program that we feel an environment that we feel like he's going to be able to have some structure around him, that he can buy into, learn from really good veterans that they're going to be playing with him, whether it's Jesse, having Sunday with him from Adelaide, Christian, these kind of guys he's going to be able to learn from. And then just being in a player development first program where JR's set up with our assistants, I think he's going to thrive. And so for us, we're really excited about what we see from him. And it just gives us, again, another local piece that we feel could develop into something long-term for us as a club.
Something I was talking to Dylan Boucher about a month ago when we had this chat, and he understood it and said it perfectly, where when you're bringing this in, and I said it at the start of this, when you're building towards something, you're going to contend every year. That's the goal. But to have these multi-year deals for these guys, like, you can't understate how big this is. If every single season we continue to build, get closer and closer. And if the Illawarra Hawks, perfect proof of that you get one step closer than the next, and then all of a sudden you're a champion.
For sure. Yeah, exactly. And a good point with Illawarra, how they built that over probably 3 or 4 years to where they got to last year. And for us, the last 2 years, we've had a very consistent roster. We had a lot of guys come out of contract this year, and, we've retained quite a few, and we've lost a few, but filling those spots with a Sunday Dech, a Lat Mayen, and then you have like a guy like Elijah Pepper returning. We're hoping big things from him. Obviously, what he's doing in the NBL 1 right now is at elite standard, and we're excited about his next steps. Having David Aquera take another step. This is his 3rd year in the program. So 100%, you want to be in contention every year, but you also want to be making incremental improvements year on year to try and get yourself to that next level. And, the last 2 years, we've got to game 3 of the semifinals. Haven't got to that last series. But, we feel with where we're tracking that, that's definitely on the horizon.
I can't let you go without asking you about Jesse Wagstaff, because he's going around again. What number career games are we actually thinking he's going to be able to reach? Because he looked great last year. And again, this is all just being productive on the court. Everything that he does off the court, in the locker room, every single day to day is invaluable on its own. But he's still producing when he gets out there as well.
No, he really is. And he reminds me, kind of how Lewis Scola played into his 40s and just was even more valuable at times on the court because of his experience, and because Jesse doesn't rely on athleticism to get by. I think he relies a lot more on his high basketball IQ, his ability to out physical opponents, outsmart them. And he's shown that over the last 2 years. And, he's got the trust of his teammates, but more importantly, he's got the trust of JR and the staff of when we're in big time moments and big time games, you can rely on him to have the offense flow through him at the 4 spot. I think he's shooting the ball the best he's ever shot it. And he's just finding ways to be effective on the court. And it's invaluable. You talk about the off-court leadership and impact he has around our group and the organization in general, and how that translates to guys and having confidence in guys on the court when he's out there with them, especially some of the young guys we've had in the program the last year. It's been invaluable, and no doubt he's going to have an impact next year as well.
It's an incredible story. And again, he's a fan favorite, not just for the Red Army, but for everybody around the league. And lastly, before I let you go, because again, listening to the roster, it's being already built there and other pieces to go, are we going to see a different shift in play style maybe under JR next year? Because the couple of names that are already there, we're looking at a very, very, very strong defensively minded team. Is it safe to say that's probably the way we're going down?
Yeah, for sure. And I think every year you build our team, you want to be as strong as you can be defensively. I think our identity has been highlighted by our offensive efficiency and the pace that we play at. But defensively, we definitely have to continue to take steps. And when you look at adding pieces, continuing with Christian and Dylan, who I think are really, really effective defenders and versatile, and you add in guys like Sunday, and you bring in a guy like Lat Mayen, who has potential on that end, has still got to prove it consistently. And then whoever else we bring in at the guard spot, at the big spot, like that is definitely that versatile group that can switch all 5 positions and kind of really be, I guess, a group that can get stops in big moments. That's exactly what we're trying to get to, while also not losing that identity offensively. We have been, and I think that's a trade under JR, and definitely a style that we want to play as a club. We want to be exciting. We want fans to be engaged with how we play, but you definitely have to get stops as well to get wins in this league. And so I do like where our roster is heading. I do like the traits of all the players that we're bringing in, is that a lot of them have been really, really effective defenders.
Spot on. I'm excited as well because I really think it's building towards something special. Danny, thank you so much for joining me. Good luck. I know the next probably month, 2 months are going to be very busy for the Perth Wildcats, as they are a lot of other teams around the league. But if I don't see you before then, I'm sure I'll see you at Summer League, and we'll go from there.
Good on you. Thanks, Peter. Appreciate it.